What's going on, nieces and nephews? Welcome back to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew. I am your host, Drew Davis, aka Uncle Drew. And as you just heard, my friends at Bookham are doing some very, very awesome stuff. As a person who reads a lot and is always looking for a community of book readers and people that want to talk about books, want to connect with and through books, Bookham is a great community to be a part of. So check out the show notes and click on it and download the app. And then also you'll be able to find me in there because I got a book club somewhere hidden in there, and I'll talk more about it really, really soon. But you guys know on a Monday, I love to get you guys going and get some pep in your step. And so we always start off with a quote. And right here we have the quote by Mark Twain. The best way to cheer yourself up is to try and cheer somebody else up. How often has that happened when you've been down and it seems like nobody can try to get you to a point where you need to be, but you're able to do that for somebody else and it actually helps you? One of the ways I like to cheer myself up is by laughing. I'll watch an old video, just something that is just really, really funny to me. I actually put one in the show notes for you guys. It's this one where these cartoons are just dancing and they're on a street parade or something like that. Looks like it might be in the hood. I might be lying, I might be wrong. But they're just on this street parade and there's like the minions dancing and there's like I think Dora the Explorer and just anyway, Minnie Mouse, I want to say. And then there's this black lady who's not in the picture, but you can hear her voice. And black people, y'all know how we do. We gonna encourage, and we gonna encourage people to get down. And we because we know there was also black people in these suits dancing as these characters. But all you hear her is just cheering on Minnie Mouse and I think it was Goofy, and I think there was a minion, and she's just saying, "Oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, don't do them like that. Oh," and it's like a minute, but it's one of my favorite clips because it's just like whenever you're mad or sad or just think about a black woman cheering somebody on with just unfiltered and just 100% openness to cheering for that person no matter who's in that suit. And so as we talk about it, if you're ever feeling down or sad, try to cheer somebody else up, and maybe that might bring up your spirit as well. And as we get into it, we'll float into this next part two of Interview 101. If you haven't checked out the previous episode last Friday, the last episode, we just talked about things to do leading up in the interview into the interview. We talked about preparation, we talked about research, and we talked about studying. And there's going to be some things I weave in to kind of go into this part two as well that I talked about on the first one because they go hand in hand. But also, if you're just looking for a job, if you're a young person, if you're just wondering, what should I do about, interview skills or preparation work? To be honest, I wouldn't say you don't need any interview skills, but a lot of the work can be done on the front end that can help you be successful in the interview. So, this episode here is about what you can do during and after the interview to put yourself in the best position to get the job. But there's also a small part I missed out on, and I'm going to go over it as well. And it's just a small bit of information leading into the interview. So, let's get started. So, the very first thing I want to say about going to a job interview, and this should be your number one priority above anything else. And if you don't hear anything I say, hear this: be on time to the interview. My bad, my bad. Not don't be on time. Scratch that. Cross that out. Put in red pen. Don't do that. Be early to the interview, whether virtually or in person. If you're late or you show up just when you need to for the interview, it looks a certain way. I know if they say be there at 9 and you walk in at 9, like, hey, I'm here at 9. But my advice is be early. Be early because you're saying, hey, this is the person that you get for this job. May it be true? Maybe, maybe not. But if you show up and you're early, think about how many people that come in for interviews and they're either right on time or they're late. Granted, things in life happen, but your first impression, somebody told me it takes like 27 interactions to erase a first impression. So having this be a job that they may only see you once, you want that one time to really, really stick out and stand out. And so that's arriving early to the interview. So that's even going and checking in, whether you're checking in at a desk or whether you sign into the Zoom meeting maybe 5 minutes early or a couple minutes early, you're letting them know that you are there. And so that's the very first thing. Be early to your interview. I had one of my acting professors in acting school would tell us If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. And that's in the acting world and the theater world. And so I take a little bit of that with me just because I try to be early everywhere I go. But when you're going for something as far as a job, make sure you give yourself the right amount of time to get there. And so this is another thing. Check, double check, and triple check how long the ride is going to take to from your house or wherever you're coming from to get to the place the interview is at. Granted, if you already have a job and you're trying to get another job, you might be coming from one job, going to the other. You might be dropping your kids off and trying to get somewhere. Give yourself ample time to get there and also just research the route. Research on your Apple or Maps or whatever it might be on your phone and just say, okay, how much does it take to get from here to here? Or how much time? Okay, where is this building actually located? Okay, where's the best parking lot or place to park that I can be able to park and go in and get right there and that I'm not outside looking for parking and driving around for 10 or 15 minutes and that's going to make me late. Those are two key things to do before the interview or the day before the interview and definitely the day of the interview to get there early and to make sure you go in and you're seated and ready and grounded before you walk into this room for an interview. Third, and it kind of goes hands in hand with this, leave that damn phone in the car. I'm gonna repeat it again. Leave that damn phone in the car. You don't need it. Bring you a book. Be bored. Do something like that. You bringing that phone in is going to distract you. If it goes off during the interview, it's going to be all bad. You can be without your phone for the hour and a half. It's not going to kill you. You're going to be all right. Leave that phone in the car because it's going to help you concentrate on the interview. You're going to be able to just sit down, pick up a magazine like they used to do back in the day, or just sit there and cross your legs and look important and busy, or important and unbothered, I should say. Leave that phone in the car because it's going to just, you're going to walk in there, you're going to be on your phone, you're going to have your head down, sitting there, notice what's going on around you, say hi to the receptionist, maybe have a conversation with somebody else that's there for an interview. Be human. Be human. But leaving that phone in the car is the best thing you can do because it's going to help you still concentrate on the questions that you might have leading into the interview. It might just help you get grounded and kind of flesh out some of that nervousness that you have. Leave that phone in the car. It's going to be there when you get out. So those are the things leading up to and into the interview. And I say leave the phone in the car, but I always like we're used to as humans having something in our hands or carrying something. And so whenever I go to an interview, I carry a small binder with me that has like a notebook, maybe a couple resumes in there just in case they want to see a physical one. It's good to have one on you. Everything should be digital nowadays anyway. But I just try to have like a binder. It makes you look a little bit more professional. When they're telling me stuff in the interview that I want to remember, I write down just so they can see I'm engaged as well. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you guys talk about in this interview that might seem like it's not going to stick or you might forget. And I'm a not a forgetful person, but I need to write some things down as a reminder or to just help it stick a little bit better in my head. So I might carry like a binder or a folder, and I have a couple professional ones that I kind of rock with. And it just shows your preparedness once again. So as you walk into this interview, you check in with the receptionist, you sit down, and then they call you in sometime later. There's not much you can do in the interview. Like the prep work should be done, the research and the studying should all be done. Your questions should be done, and those should be at the top of your mind as you're going through this interview. Because while this person is interviewing you to see if you're a good fit, you are also interviewing them to see if they're a good fit for you. Now you should have some questions and you should have some written out for this very reason. They have a salary that's usually posted for the position. And sometimes that salary is on a sliding scale. It might say 75,000 to 95,000. Well, how do you know which one they're going to try to offer you? Is it based on your credentials? Is if you're really a low level person, are they going to try to offer you 75 or based on your credentials? Are they going to offer you more 80, 85, 90? Is it based on your past experience? If you worked in a position with this title, are you more likely to get upwards of 90? That is a good question to have on the 5 or 10 questions that I told you to make before that you should have going into the interview. Some of these questions should already be maybe they're simple, the questions that might get answered in the interview, but I want to make sure that you have them just in case they aren't answered or asked. And secondly, you could also use that as a basis of saying, oh, this was a question I was going to ask, but you already said, hey, this we're offering this position at 80,000. So that answered my question as far as what you guys are really giving this position out as. So I'll go ahead and mark that one off. You can use it in the middle of the interview or after or whenever you guys are having questions and wrapping up because it shows them you were active listening. It told them that you came in with questions. And like I talked about before, this might be a position in the company, but there also might be room to move up. So while they're looking for people to fill this position, maybe they're like, hey, this is a person that I brought in this position that is a good fit, but I also think they have the potential to do more with our company or within our company based upon how they operated in this interview and leading up to it, which is good because companies want to hire people who are going to be there for a while or that can move up and that they can point at and say, hey, when Drew came in here, he came in as entry level and now he's, managing director or, he's a director of this department or he's assistant director, like he's moved up 3 or 4 times. So we like to promote within. They like to use that talking to other people or other workers that they're hiring to show that you can have growth within the company. And so by you walking in prepared, it shows, all right, this just isn't a person that's going to be good for this position. This is going to be a person that could be good for positions to come. And I talked about having that list of questions that you should have gotten through your research, through your preparation, through your studying, because it shows that you're in tune and that you know what's going on and what's happening with this job position and with this company. And so I said, even though I said earlier, they have a salary posted between 75,000 and 90,000. Cool, that's good. How do you know which one you're going to get? So you can also say, and these are questions I've written down to kind of go over. You can have, how do you negotiate your salary? I think that's something that should definitely be talked about in the first interview or in interviews preceding that. You should ask, is there a way for us to negotiate this salary? Based upon what my credentials are, or is this fine line cut and dry? Even if it's not 75 to 90,000, if they just have the job at 80,000, if you're just coming from another job that paid more with a similar position, or you have experience, you can ask, hey, is there any movement for this salary range, for this salary, for this position? And usually, if you're a good fit, if you're a good candidate, they might always just tell you, yeah, because they don't want to lose a good candidate based on them already throwing out the offer for there to be more room for improvement for this salary. So, a couple questions I have, or a couple areas I have that you should have questions in: negotiating salary, paid time off, healthcare. What does the healthcare look like? What is y'all's process as far as hiring for this position? How long do you think you'll take? How long will the interviews take? How many rounds of interviews will there be? What is the start date for this position? What date would you guys like this position to start? Those are just a couple questions that I have because those can make it a little bit more clear whether you really want this job. If they tell you that, hey, this process is, a 2 to 3 month process on us hiring this position, and you need a job as of yesterday, maybe it's not smart for you to go after this job when you needed a job as of yesterday and they kind of are going to be a couple months before they make a decision. So I would hate it for you if you were trying to find this position and you continued to work for it for 2 or 3 months and you were counting and banking on getting this job and then they passed you up at the end. So you spent 2 to 3 months chasing after or waiting for a job that you probably thought you were going to get and you really needed, but now you wasted 2 or 3 months working for this job when you could have been working towards a different direction. Also, just the start date. What if they tell you, "Hey, we're going to go through this process really quick, and we want to hire somebody next Monday," and you have another job you're working, or you're supposed to be out of town for a funeral or a graduation? That can kind of mess it up. So it's important, and I'll say this on a thin line. It's important to be truthful, but also you also want to make sure that you can get hired. And so there's a double-edged sword there where you want to get hired, but you're like, well, most jobs, when you work those first 60 to 90 days, they don't want you to miss any days. So it's hard if you're like, all right, well, I got a funeral, then I got my cousin's graduation, and I got this. That might exclude you from that position. So at that point, you got to see, all right, well, do I really need this job? And will I have to pass on those things in order to work this job? Or maybe there might be flexible as far as moving the start date because you've told us you have a funeral to go to. And most people are not going to say they won't get mad that you have to go to a funeral or most jobs, but it's one of those things that everybody has to deal with death. And so for you asking somebody to skip their grandmother or grandpa or, a funeral of a friend, like it's really, really inconsiderate to ask that. So most companies won't. But you just have to be prepared that if you say that, or if that start date is within the time that you have to do these other things, that there might be a possibility that they skip you as a candidate for other people that might be more available to begin working very quickly. And like I said before, the questions are the most important part because that's when you get clarity on the position. Now, if they're offering a salary that's way below what you thought it was, that's a sign that, okay, this company might do some false advertising online as far as to get the candidates in here, but this is a lot lower than I wanted it to. It's not worth my time. I think we should stop the interview here. Or I think, it's good to come in here and meet with you guys. And when you guys have something that is more in my salary range, I would love to come back and to move on with the interview or anything like that. But it's important with these questions because you get clarity as a person that could be working for this company. So I talked about questions that you can have. We're negotiating salary, PTO, healthcare, what the healthcare looks like. Is it good? How much are you covered? How much does it cost? The process of them hiring, the start date that they would like to hire. And I think PTO is very important too because we all want to travel and we all want to, have time off and be. How long does it take to get that PTO? Where does it cap off at? Those are important, very, very important questions to ask. And so, one thing that I talked about a little bit before, as you're going through this interview, you want to make sure that you have questions. And I think it's a great thing that if it that you even have some layup questions that probably are going to get answered during this interview. But I think it's imperative for you to look into your notebook when they ask you if you have any questions and to go point by point through all your questions, even if they've already answered them. So they you going through and they're like, hey, any questions? Okay, yeah, I had one about PTO, but you answered that. We get up to X amount of hours. You talked about healthcare. That was one that I had. Oh, is there any way we can negotiate salary? I know you said it's 80, but is there any wiggle room on that? Okay, bet she answers that question. All right. What when do you guys want to hire somebody by? You went through all this stuff talking about what the position is, getting to know me, my background, looking at my resume. But when do you guys want somebody to start? Okay, 2 weeks. Is there any wiggle room on that? Could you start sooner? Would you be able to start later? Okay, cool. We would be able to start later. Okay, because I have a funeral in a week and a half that I have to travel for, and I'll probably get back on that Monday that you want somebody to start. So I just wanted to double check and make sure. Like just reading those couple questions that you have and maybe some really, really big ones that they're going to have trouble answering. How many people am I in charge of as the director of this position? How long does it usually take if and I'm just saying the question because I have the problem that sometimes I just say things how I need to say them and I figure it out early or later. But okay, this is an entry level position. How long does it take people to usually move up or promote? Do promotions happen a lot inside the company, or do you guys go outside and hire? Do you guys like to promote within? Is the way to put it. But just those couple things, those couple questions where it doesn't feel like they just brought you in and they got what they wanted and then you're gone. No, I came in, I asked the questions I had to ask, I got the clarity that I needed to have so if there's another job that pops up with the same company down the road that I know all this stuff and is it worth my time to apply and to interview again or to go down this road or did they totally waste my time? Did this person that's interviewing me, I don't want to burn that bridge because we might run into each other later down the road. So this might be a good connection to have because I just came here and I crushed this interview. So next time when they have an opening or something like that, she may contact me and move me ahead of the process in the interview process because I've already met with her once. And that might be a blessing in disguise too. And so we got through the brunt of everything we wanted to talk about. We talked about asking very good questions and having questions. And so as the interview wraps up, if you don't have any more questions, if they answered everything you answered, you can ask them, hey, when should I expect to hear from you for the next round of interviews or to hear if I got the job? And then you have to do one very important thing. You just, shake their hand, tell them thank you for their time. As you're leaving, say goodbye to the secretary. Thank you for her time as well as you head out the door to get in your car and finally you can get on your phone that you were supposed to leave in the car and now you can drive back home. But this very important detail may help you seal the deal on the job. And that is sending a follow up email or physical letter or card thanking the person for their time for that interview. This is a step a lot of people miss out on. A lot of people don't think it's that important. They may read your email, they may not. They may get your card at some point, they may not. But it's that small personal touch that you put on something like this that puts you over the top as a candidate. Maybe you really, really want this job. Maybe you're not the type of person to say thank you and send the email or send a card. But when it comes to the job world, when it comes to being able to fit in or to stand out, I should say, you want to do things that put you another level above everyone else. And if that means writing a small, short email, thanking them for their time, talking about something that you guys laughed about in the interview, to just give that lasting impression of like, man, we had a great time in the interview. I hope I'm a great fit for this job. This company seems like a great fit for me. Hopefully, everything works out. Also doing that in the email and also on a card, and a card is just more personable. You have to handwrite it out, you have to send it, put a stamp on it, maybe they get it a couple days later, maybe they even get it after they hire you, but that reaffirms the fact of what they thought about you as a person and as a person that they saw working for their organization, for their team, for their business, and those are the things that you want. So as we go through this, when all the work is done on the front end, and once you get to the interview and you do all the things right, if you do these things, even if you do 80% of what I said in all of this stuff, it's going to put you in the best position possible to get the job. I can tell you right now, I've never not been offered a job when I've sat down and been in an interview. One, because I'm an amazing person. Oh, and the other thing, I didn't even say this. I'm tripping. Lastly, show your personality. Be yourself a little bit. If you lame, don't be you. If you lame, don't be you. But if you're kind of cool person, like be you. Crack jokes, within reason. Talk about things that you're interested in, cartoons, TV shows, movies, what you do outside of work, listening to jazz, running, jogging, yoga. Like be a person, because when you come to work for a company as an employee, you are a person. You have a whole life outside of here. And they don't want that robotic person that comes in and says, yeah, I just work. That's all I do. I show up to work, I eat lunch, I go home, I think about work. Like all that sounds good. But if you're in an interview, show your personality, just like I do on this podcast. Like there's sometimes I pull back because I'm like, all right, it's a little bit too much for I know it is. And there's sometimes I push myself forward and I'm like, nah, man, you're silly, you're goofy. Go ahead and be that for 5 to 10 minutes. So be yourself in these interviews. Let yourself shine through. If you don't know what your interests are, if you don't know what your interests are, what your hobbies are, what you like to do outside of work, what's your 2 or 5 year plan, even if it doesn't have to do with that business or anything about work, it's good to have those things. And I'm over here just forgetting everything that I was supposed to talk about. So my apologies. But the very last thing is, when you sit down for this interview, you have to have asked yourself and have prepared answers to the hard questions. And these hard questions are going to come in the form of, what are your weaknesses? You know, think about a time, or tell me about a time you showed leadership. Tell me about a time you wish you would have handled a situation better. Those are probably like three of the main questions I get, especially when it has to deal with working in a team or being in a management position, because they want to hear you think and talk about times where you're able to judge yourself harshly. And I talked about this in the first episode. The thing that your weakness doesn't really have to be a weakness. Like I said, my weakness is that I want to work on my own because I don't trust other people to be timely with turning in their work and whatnot, because I trust myself the most to be able to say, okay, well, I got a week to turn this in. Monday, I'm working on this. Tuesday, this. Okay, by Thursday, I should be here. By Friday, it should be ready to go. I can't put that same trust that other people are going to do their half or their piece, and I'm going to be able to do mine. And we're going to meet at this time and be able to turn everything in or present, and that everybody else is on point. But that's a personal problem with me, but it's not really a weakness. You know what I mean? It's a weakness in the sense of like, okay, like, all right, I don't say I struggle working with people. I say I'd rather work alone. And what did he say? He said that on the movie. What was that? Incredibles? He said, yeah, on Incredibles. He's Mr. Incredible said, nah, what did he say? Whatever his name was. Hey, I work alone, bruh. Um, but it's not really like a bad thing. It's just like, well, this dude played college football, he played NFL football, he knows how to be a part of a team. He just said he likes working on his own. So you have to find a way to maybe talk about something that's not one of your strengths and be able to flip that and talk about it being a weakness with it not really being a weakness. You're going to have to talk about a time for leadership, a time that you probably stepped up when nobody else would and you were able to do something at work or in your life. Maybe you also have to talk about a time where you wish you would have handled the situation differently. Whether you were yelling at a coworker, you were mad at them, and you might have ate somebody's lunch because you wanted some get back at them for eating your lunch. Like thinking of areas like that and situations, even if they might be a little bit inflated or made up, is a very good way to know, like, okay, I have to have some things I want to talk about because it's definitely a red flag if they ask you to think about a time and you're like, I can't think of one. I can't really remember. What's one of your weaknesses? I don't really have any weaknesses. I'm pretty awesome all the way around. That is a red flag for them because there's been no self-reflection on what you've done at work with your coworkers in your life. And they want to hire people that know that they can get better and that they can do better. And so that's it. I think I'm done forgetting all the types of things I was forgetting on this second episode that I'm just doing as I sit here. But hopefully you got some things from this. Hopefully you got some great takeaways on some ways that you might have not thought about stepping into an interview and being prepared. But that's what I'm here for. That's what Coach Drew is here for, to help you every single step of the way. And I look forward to talking to you guys as we head into September and we can sing some Earth, Wind, and Fire all day long. And outside of that, there'll be another. I think I'm gonna do another part because I want to talk about interview 101 and 101. I want to talk about interview 101 with dress for my fellas to get us right as well. So once again, that is Drew Davis, or I am Drew Davis. This is Too Good to Be Drew. I hope to catch you guys again. This is part two of interview 101. Stay healthy.